Well, welcome back, my friends all, to another rousing rendition of Choir Boys Outdoors, a K-Bar BK2 in Magnacut rendition. This thing's a beast, man. It's just an absolute monster. Now, listen, I released this the first time, and there were some technical difficulties. Joe from BLADECRAFT hit me up, so I deleted the first video. So if you were watching it, went away, I am so sorry. I don't know what happened. We'll just redo the damn thing, right? But shout out to Joe, not only for letting me know, but guys, Joe has a video of a Becker from K-Bar in Magnacut. Mine, I was talking to John Stitt. I had bought a K-Bar chef's knife for my boss because I'm just that kind of good employee. I had got my boss man a good chef's knife. And so in talking to John Stitt, the president of K-Bar, I was asking for more recommendations. He said, brother, I think you got everything you need right there. And he said, oh, by the way, would you like to check out a BK2 in Magnacut? He said, we've got a couple of seconds around here that we could send you. I said, yeah, man, absolutely. This has been a great experience, and I'm going to tell you why. Again, big shout out to Joe, JS BLADECRAFT. Check his channel out. He has a Becker and Magnacut that you would be receiving from K-Bar if you got it. This is a factory second, meaning they wouldn't sell it. It had a blemish in the grind or something like that. It was so minute, I was going to try to show it, and then I thought, well, it's so minute, I can't. Couple things though. When you get a finished knife, like when a company sends you a knife or you purchase a knife to do a review on, and let me clear this up with K-Bar. I have received 2 samples from them to review. The FA01 pocket knife, which I'm actually carrying today, and this. Every other K-Bar knife you see on my channel, I've bought, or Joe gifted me one. I love K-Bar. Let me say that up front. Let me just get that out of the way. And there's a lot of guys who can say, oh, I'm not partial, and I can't. I have knives on here I like. I have knife companies on here I like. To have something on here I didn't like, for me, you'd be able to see straight through anything I tried to do with it, and I wouldn't enjoy it. I already got a job. I already have to go to work. This is for my enjoyment. Now, sermonette aside, the BK2 is an absolute monster. Doesn't matter the blade steel. I have 2 BK2s in 1095 Crovan. Love them. One has micarta handle scales. One has regular handle scales. This knife that K-Bar sent me is in Magnacut, and it has their regular scales on them. Now, let me say this. I have a set of custom scales from Lucas Carroll Custom Scales, that will go on this knife after this review post. But I wanted to do the demonstration, the review, the way they sent it. Now, they sent it exactly how I want it. No coating, bare bones. That's what I like. And just let me be honest, their handle scales don't bother me like it does some people. It just doesn't. Truth be told, I look at knives as a tool, and since I've started doing the channel, I am function, and a lot of times, guys, just being 100% honest with you, if it doesn't bother my hand, it doesn't bother me. These handle scales don't bother my hand. I want to jump right into this, though. I wasted enough time. This is the BK2 in Magnacut. It is a collaboration with Becker. Many of you know that, so it's K-Bar and Becker. There's a large series of these knives. The BK2 and the BK9 are my favorites, personal favorites. This is a 1/4-inch steel blade stock. So you've got Magnacut, a 1/4-inch slab of Magnacut. The overall length is 10 7/16 inches. The blade length is 5 1/8 inches. The cutting edge is about 4 5/8 inches. The blade width is 1 5/8 inches. The handle length is 5 7/16. The inner grip is 4 inches. The handle thickness is 1 inch. And the handle width is 1 1/4 inches. Now, I pulled all of those myself with a tape measure. I like doing that. Quick caveat. everything that you see me do with the BK2 in this video while I'm in my overhauls at the studio, that is the edge they sent, right? Now, the BK2 is a thick slab of steel. It's thick behind the edge. It is a tank. It goes straight through stuff, chopping, batoning, whatever you want to do. You can beat the ever-living dog shit out of this knife, and it'll hold up. Now, any knife will break. We live in the YouTube era where, oh my God, a knife broke. Shocker, it's a cutting instrument, and if you hit it with a baseball bat or you do something stupid, it's going to break. You say, well, Scab, I need to see how tough it is. Do you? Do you? I mean, are you lacking skill set that much that you have to abuse a knife? And I'm not being mean. The guys who break knives do it, and they do it well, and they do it with a purpose, and those channels are for that. My contention is, whether it's a tank of a knife like this that can take a little more, or it's like the FA01 that's thin and slicey, or like one of K-Bar's fighting knives, military knife, that's thin and slicey. If you use the tool as a cutting tool, as it's supposed to be used, it should last you for life. Now, I've said this many times, if a knife breaks on my channel, that's a problem. I'm trying to show you everyday use. It goes a little heavier. Some of you don't baton at all, and in real life, I don't. When I get a beast like this, I go bigger on the batoning just for the visual, just to show you. When I get a thinner, slicey one, really, truly, honestly, here in Florida, if I'm going to baton anything and it's rare, it would be after rain or something like that, and it's like a little 1-inch diameter stick that I'm just trying to get to the middle of. That's it. Right? But for the video and for things like that, just to kind of show you some overall use, I like to do the heavier batoning. But everything I did here in this at the studio with Kirk, or here in my overalls, and that's just a good way to measure it, is the edge that K-Bar sent with it. After I left Kirk's, I took my Work Sharp field sharpener, not the pull through, not the automated one, but the Diamond Stone field sharpener, and I honed the knife. Why? This is a second. I felt like there was a lot more freedom, and I really wished I could get a hold of more seconds, because there's kind of a freedom there, right? I feel like when I get a knife and it's pristine and it's the one that you would buy and it's all of these things, then I need to keep the review within certain parameters. I don't need to sharpen the knife or strop the knife. And even if I tell you, hey, I sharpened it, that's a knock on a knife that you would be buying, right? So from this point on, now this is honed up. Now listen, I didn't spend hours sharpening it. I'll show you all the little field sharpener I used, but I did take probably this time right after the studio, I probably took 10 or 15 minutes, ran it across the Diamond Stone a few times, and I'll tell you why I did that. I want to know if a knife is easy to sharpen in the field. A lot of that has to do with skill set. I'm working on my skill set. So I thought, you know what? Is Magnacut too hard to sharpen? Is this out of my scope? I was pleasantly surprised. Now, a lot of times with the stabbing tires, I'll just be honest with you guys, just being straight up, a lot of times that is an aesthetic thing. However, when we do like we're doing here, and I cut right up into that tread, y'all see me cut right up into the reinforced part, and even the sidewall's reinforced, right? It may not be steel belted there, but it's reinforced. A lot of times it's those small steel wires, or it's some kind of nylon, but it's something that if you've got like a super thin edge, or you've got one of those wire edges, it'll roll it, it'll not chip it, but flake it. And that's why I like doing that. And here we did this entire tire. We did both sides. We went around, and like I said, I had honed it, sharpened it, and you could see from that first section, real thick behind the edge, it would baton for you. It'd do what you needed it to do, right? But what I wanted to do is experiment with this video. I wanted to experiment as we went. I wanted to practice my sharpening prowess. I wanted to see how much it would take if I had this knife. I was in a bad situation. I had a field sharpener because I keep one in one of my bags. I always do. Could I make it work? I found it was pretty damn easy to sharpen. I'm not going to lie. Now, you've seen us open up there with the J.C. Owens tip test. That's where I jam the knife in and kind of do a bow drill divot to get the hole started. Now here we're just doing some prying. And I wanted to say this too. I've said it before. I use materials that are available to me. I don't go out of my way to run stuff down. I'm not going to bring stuff in. That wouldn't be honest, and it really wouldn't be true to where I'm at. Now I'm taking a 4x4 and I'm hitting the knife into another 4x4 or into dunnage. This is dunnage. It is pine. It is knotted up, but it is pine. It's pressure treated pine. My point is this. I've had people say, well, that's soft. Listen to me. If a heat treat is done poorly, if a knife is poorly constructed, that pine will eat up that edge. You don't have to slam a knife into a brick wall to see if it'll chip. It'll chip. I don't give a damn who does the heat treat. There are certain objects that you can hit. The knife's going to chip. That's why I use something like this. That's why I'm telling you, if there is damage to this knife on my channel, it is a problem because I do use those materials. Why do I use those materials? I live in Florida. We have pine forest, probably 90%. Well, we got swamps and a pine forest, right? So I'm going to use what's around me naturally. That's why I always encourage you guys to watch videos of folks all over this country, especially in your area. Watch mine because I'm just good at it and good looking. I mean, what else could you want? But the truth is, you need to find guys who are in your area and watch them. Watch the mediums they use to cut. That's important to me. Now, this particular chopping, I was not doing to go through with speed. If you'll notice, there's a lot of flat strikes here. Remember I'd sharpened it before the tire. After the tire, and that was the piece on the other video that was missing. After the tire, I had cut some ratchet strap. There was some tugging there. So I stropped it. So after I cut the tire, after I cut the ratchet strap, I stropped it here. And I believe I even did a little segment where I'm showing you doing that. Just a quick thing. Now, right here, these are straight, flat slaps on the wood. This isn't chopping. It's slapping the wood. You can see right by the hole we made right here. Bam. Then I wanted to cut. I wanted to show you. I didn't want to cut away and come back and, oh, it's hair popping. I wanted to be as legit with the video as I could. This is not a heavy strap, okay? I'm not pretending like it is. Again, we did some flat chops, but I wanted to see with the knife still cut afterwards. And here we go. That's the little work sharp I use. It works really, really well for what I need it to. It has a leather strop. It has a ceramic rod with 3 sides. Has a very aggressive diamond stone. And it has a smoother stone. Now, as I go and as it progresses, now this is about, I think this is 4 or 5 pieces folded. So I was cutting onesie, twosie, and then I went to 4 or 5. So the stropping actually did help quite a bit. Now we're going to do a little zip tie cutting. Again, the zip tie cutting has nothing to do with sharpness. It has to do with putting pressure on the edge. And it held up really, really, really well. K-Bar knows what they're doing when it comes to heat treat. The Becker series is one of my favorite. And listen, I keep a BK2 with me. If my grandson goes with me, if my nephew goes with me, if somebody who doesn't really use a knife often, they're going to be hard on a knife, a BK2. Now, typically, it's the 1095 because that's what I had, the 1095 Crovan. Would I let them use this one? Yeah. Now, I'm going to continue to hone and sharpen, and my goal is this. At the first of the year, come back with this knife after getting the edge bevel like I want it. And I do want to thin it out some. I'm comfortable with K-Bar's heat treat for what I'm going to do with this knife. I'm going to put some custom scales on it from Lucas Carroll. I'm going to get the handle like I like it. And then I'm going to get the edge like I like it. And there's nothing wrong with what we're doing here. In fact, the last thing that I do in this video is cut some ratchet strap. Instead of doing paper, I did about a 5 or 10 minute sharpening, honing. I think 5 or 10 minutes we should call it honing. right before I cut some ratchet strap to show you it sharpened up pretty damn good, and it did well. Now, when we cut to the trunk, that's when we cut the ratchet strap. So while we're looking at this finishing up, there was a time in this country where 22 vets a day took their own lives. Now, we're headed into Thanksgiving, the holidays, and that number is going to be higher. Unfortunately, it is. That's why here on this channel, we focus on the number 0. Anything over 0 is simply unacceptable. Vets, we love you. Man, you got a place here. Guys, I back the blue. And here's the thing. I don't have time every video to explain why. I believe every man, woman, boy, and girl on this planet should be accountable. I firmly believe in that, but I back the blue. You don't have to. You don't have to agree with me. It's okay. I'm not arguing over it. Finally, if you are an addict, and I am, never quit quitting. Now, you see here, now we're moving through that ratchet strap. After doing a couple of honings, we're moving through, and there was nothing wrong with the knife before. It is a tank. It is a beast. The edge held up well. They did the Magnacut correctly, as from what I've seen. Now, this is a knife, because it's a second, because it was sent for review, we will come back on it. I would like to thin it out, go hard again, and see what we get. Mr. John, K-Bar, man, thank y'all. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'm scared. You're not.